You're such a needy little fat cat. Why you get so fat? I am going to talk to you about how I figured out my macros for the last 3 months and kind of a basic idea of what I've been doing with my food for my keto diet while I tackle my laundry, because it's outrageous and I have to do it, but I also really want to get this video out for you guys. So hopefully you don't mind. Hopefully you have just as much laundry as I do. If you don't, I will let you know where I live. Feel free to come over and give me a hand. I'm never going to say no to free help. I don't know, by the way, so does anyone else do this? I make my kids fold their laundry, most of them. The older 3, they're all capable of folding their laundry, so we separate it into baskets. Does anybody else do that? If you see me throwing laundry, that's why, because all the baskets are kind of like over here. Okay, so when we figured out our macros for the start of this diet, we used our bathroom scale, because our bathroom scale has the strips on the bottom to help or to read body fat. We use that to figure out body fat percentage because it's a little more accurate when you do your macros, because it helps you to figure out how much you should be eating at a base rate and then you cut from there. So we used our scale to see what our body fat percentages were, and from there I went to a macro calculator that I found online. I will link that down below, and they're all pretty much the same. The one that I have been using allows you to change, it allows you to kind of shuffle your own grams for everything, so you can see, okay, if I increase my protein, what will that leave me with for fat? You know, if I bring my net carbs down, what does that mean for all my other numbers? And it allows you to play with it a little bit more. And I personally like that. If you're pretty new to it, you might not want that feature, and that's okay, as long as you find one that kind of breaks down the percentages of everything, because no matter what calorie goal you choose to follow, you're gonna still have to break it down to the same basic percentages, and you want to aim for like 75% fat, 20% protein, and 5% carbs. That's just kind of like the standard go-to. You can always adjust. It doesn't have to be that, especially if following those percentages you don't feel your best, but it's a lot of trial and error. I tried to commit myself to saying, okay, I am going to give us a solid month of playing around with numbers, and I would pick one, stick with it for a little while and see how I felt, and write everything down as well, because you're not going to remember. Well, maybe you will. So my battery died, and I have managed to finish all of my laundry sorting and even folding my towels while the battery charged. As far as figuring out calories as well, always aim higher than you think you're going to need. That was a big thing that I've noticed, is I need more food than I thought I did, and it's kind of hard to get out of your girl brain, is that eating more food is good for you. It's a hard trend to break, but you have to give yourself that time to heal as well, because I'm sure you're like me in that you've probably done countless different diets, and we really put our bodies through the ringer with all these different ways to try and crash diet, and high carb, low carb, hydroxy cut. If you watch my other video, we talked about that as well. Give your body a chance to heal. Once I figured out how much we were going to eat, I started to look for recipes, just to kind of get an idea of what other people were eating so that I could modify what I already make for my family to make it work. A lot of the recipes that I already have in my rotation, I was able to modify either by adding extra fat or removing a carb for myself and my husband, and it wasn't actually too difficult to modify for everybody, because I wasn't going super heavy on the fat for dinners to the point where my kids were going to have a problem with having high fat and high carb. So a big thing that helped me was writing everything down so that I could go back and check everything. Let's see, this was our second day. I would write down every single meal, every single food, and then I would break down the fat, the carbs, and the protein so that I could then look back and say, okay, what did I eat yesterday? How did I feel yesterday? And I would ask my husband, were you full at work? Were you hungry with what I had sent you? Did you need more? How did you feel? Because this is a new way of eating for us. I wanted to make sure that this was going to be effective and long-term, something that we could stick to, because it was important to me that he lost the weight that was making him feel uncomfortable, as well as me trying to lose the weight that made me feel uncomfortable. So I wanted to make sure we gave it our best. And in order to make sure that he is feeling his best at work, I gotta know, how are you feeling? And I think that's a really important thing to focus on with any diet that you're starting is, how do you feel? Does counting calories work for you? Do you feel satisfied? Do you feel in control? You know, does Weight Watchers work for you? Do you feel in control? Do you feel satisfied? These are important things. If you don't feel full, if you don't feel satisfied, if you feel like you're constantly struggling, that is not the diet for you, no matter what it is. If it doesn't work for you, don't force it, because you're just gonna end up falling off the wagon, taking a really deep, dark turn, binge eating, at least this is my personal experience, and then you're gonna end up 10 pounds heavier than you even were. That's no good. Nobody wants that. So I also kind of broke it down. I would not only break down what we were both eating, but also what each of us would eat. So because his macros look so much different than mine. And then this is how I organize all of my food. I would write down all of my breakfasts, all of my lunches, all of my dinners. And then I would put any recipes in there that I would need to remember for that week. And then I would make my food shopping list for the grocery store. So that I would make sure every single meal that I had on my list, that I had all the ingredients for it. Because then I can look and say, okay, I know I can make these meals. Maybe this isn't gonna work on the day that I thought it was. Maybe I need to swap it for this meal over here. That's okay. Flip-flop, we can still cook it, we can still make it work. I would also go through and make little notes of what I need to cook on specific days. That has helped a lot for getting ready for the deeper state keto that I'm going to be starting on Monday, because it's going to be a little more strict than what I've been doing, and my husband's not going to be following it 100% with me. So there is some prep work involved to make sure I have go-to meals that I can just grab and eat. But I don't always have time every single day that I can just, I'll make it whenever. I have to have it written down what days I have available to me to do food prep, because I have a lot going on. Electrolytes. You don't want muscle cramps, you don't want mental fog. If you've heard of keto flu, a lot of that is electrolytes, and as long as you can keep up on that, you're gonna feel a lot better. So I drink Vega brand electrolytes because they have the most potassium that you can get from what I've found so far. If you're tracking in something like MyFitnessPal or in Chronometer, it will track your nutrients that way, so you can kind of keep an eye on what you're already getting from your food. I was only getting max 600 milligrams of potassium a day in my diet, and I was feeling the side effects. I was having muscle cramps, I had a stall in my weight loss, and I was really just feeling poorly. I also like to add pink salt to my Vega, just to because there's not a whole lot of sodium. I believe there's 160 milligrams of sodium per serving, and that's not a whole lot. You want anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 milligrams of sodium a day to help all those electrolytes have to stay in balance. You can't have one without the other. So what's next? What comes now? We've lost 20 and 25 pounds, my husband and I. He says he'll stick with it as long as I make him. And God love him. He will just do pretty much whatever I throw at him for food, which is kind of nice. Makes my job a little bit easier. But he does want to start experimenting a little bit with some carbs, specifically higher carb vegetables and potatoes. He enjoys potatoes a lot. So I want to start introducing those back in a little bit for him and see how he responds. You know, does he bloat up 6 pounds after he has mashed potatoes with dinner? Or is he fine? We recently did introduce a couple more high carb vegetables into his diet, and he actually lost 3 pounds. So I'm thinking that this might be at least good for a little while for him to kind of change up his diet a little bit from what we have been doing, you know, kind of confuse the body, and we'll see how that goes. But as far as for me, I am about to start a 90-day cut program, Deeper State Keto. This is set up by Matt and Mega over at Keto Connect. Robert Sykes over at Keto Savage, and I'm pretty sure Crystal Love said that she was going to be helping a little bit too, and that's her channel. I'll link all of those down below. They have all kind of collaborated together to create this 90-day program to really hone in on your nutrition and bring some exercise elements in as well. I'm excited to focus the next few months. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be so worth it. So keep on my channel, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit that bell icon so that every time I upload new content, you can watch it and find out how my 90 days is going to go. I'm going to be uploading a weekly update video for you and sharing food and experiences, and so excited to share this journey with you. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. We'll see you for our next video. Bye!